Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross. I'm back at the Utrecht special event, joined with a probably exasperated Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, I'm very happy. We had a pretty nice close game there. Always nice to revisit some old formats, and that's actually one of my favourite decks of all time, playing that Mega Magnezone. You've got to match up some hand sizes, a lot of intricate math going on, and you're building towards a big flourish at the end there, where I was able to take a big knockout with Magnezone, and that's one of my favourite cards of all time.
Yeah, when it works, it works. I love that card, but today we are building up to a final and a champion of Utrecht special event, and we have got a pretty good game.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Oliver Barnett, who is a player who is known to us in the UK. Went off, we used to play really, really heavily. Every tournament we'd see him around. Kind of went off for a little while, coming back into the game now and showing that they really have not missed a step. Up against, of course, Stefan Eriksson. Not Stefan Eriksson, Stefan Ivanov. I was chatting to Stefan Eriksson earlier. Stefan Ivanov, who has won the North American International Championships 2 of the past 3 years and actually couldn't attend this past year to defend the title. So we have got some very, very high-level players here. I'm not surprised seeing either of these players get it into top 8. And then we got Mew, that we expected coming into this weekend, and Gudra.
Yeah, and Stefan has really been piloting this Gudra to great success in recent tournaments. Kind of been an innovator of that archetype himself. He brought a double Roxanne to the table a couple of events ago and had a fantastic finish with the Lost Box Gudra. And he's once again found his way into top 8. And he's up against the Mew matchup, which I think is a pretty close one, all things considered. Oliver does have ways of reaching. He can try and use Escape Rope and Boss's Orders or cross switches in combination with Boss or Serena on the same turn to undo some Rolling Iron reduction, or he can try and find a huge number of power tablets and choice belts all in the same turn. For Stefan, it's going to be trying to evolve into those V-Stars as quickly as possible, try and create that one prize board state in certain situations to play around Oliver, who's going to be looking to find easier prizes throughout the game. As we see the fist bump, we are going into our top 8 feature match here. Stefan is going to be starting off with a Comfey, and will be flower selecting immediately.
Nice. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Find one to put in your hand, one to put into the Lost Zone. Of course, Gudra players, generally, I'm not a fan of any deck that can get a one-hit KO on the Gudra. It's why this Mew becomes an interesting matchup. We do actually see the Gudra V straight away there, which is really, really good for Stefan. Yep. We can actually see the V-Stars already in hand, and this is quite nice. We're now bouncing around with these flowers, as we tend to do.
Yeah, really important to develop these Gudra. It's one of the biggest advantages of going first. You can evolve out of those vulnerable V Pokemon and jump all the way up to 270 hit points with your V-Star, so that Oliver cannot pick apart easy prizes. I'm sure Stefan will try and get another Gudra developed this turn if he can.
Yeah, it's always a nice advantage where you can get a couple. We do see the scoop up there coming in here, so now we get another Comfey in the active, or really the same one in the active for a second time. We see another card with flower selecting, and this is really nice. Going first, it can be hard to get lots of cards in the Lost Zone because you can't play a supporter. You have kind of fewer options for draw and things along those lines. But getting a couple cards in the Lost Zone, getting the Gudra down, and there is actually energy in Stefan's hand. If he wishes to attack his turn, he will be able to.
Looking pretty good here. Still a few more actions to go. Is going to pay retreat and get one additional flower selecting in. He has prized one Battle VIP pass and a couple of capture energy, so it's going to be a tough find to get this second Gudra developed. It's going to be a Metal Energy hitting that Lost Zone, doing a really good job of getting to 7 as quickly as possible. That unlocks the Mirage Gate in his deck, so there's no worries about no energy currently being on his Hisuian Gudra. He can power that up all in a turn thanks to Mirage Gate, as we pass over to Oliver, who gets the VIP pass as his first action of the turn. Not too shabby.
No, not at all. This is where you want to get your couple of Genesect, and of course the Battle VIP pass, get the Genesect, draw your cards, and then you're going from there. Looks like we've actually gone 2 Genesect, 2 Mew early doors here, but we do then have an Ultra Ball as well, which is probably going to be your third Genesect here, and then Oliver, oh no, it's actually an Oricorio here. I kind of like this because of course you're reducing damage done by 20 to your Fusion Strike Pokemon, and of course that is going to make it much more difficult for Stefan to get that chip damage in the early game and then get big KOs of Gudra in the late game.
Yeah, and also just right now there's a Genesect V in the active position, and with that reduction you actually stay out of Rolling Iron range. So that's really handy. It might be the best Pokemon that Oliver can leave in the active position in this opening turn, and he finds another Battle VIP pass to get you know, filling up his board even more so. You have to think possibly a Genesect coming into play at this stage.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly is, and it's great to see VIP pass, not only because it's allowing you to get your board state set up, but these aren't the ideal cards to draw into. They can try and clog you up at times, although we do have ways like Cramomatic to remove these throughout the game. This is the best place for them, finding them on turn 1, so we can get maximum value, and a few more draws to be had from Oliver here, who's already found a turn attachment. We even see a big Parasol now, and there's already the Forest Sealstone developed for Oliver as he draws a few additional cards here, really digging through the deck nicely.
Yeah, a lot of options there for Oliver, of course. We have a Genesect prize, that's all right, the other 3 are out, and when you see they're going for the Oricorio, Oliver knows he's got another VIP pass, so that Genesect was always going to be coming out. And this is pretty much best case scenario for Oliver. He's got basically everything he needs here. He's got 3 Genesect, 2 Mew, and an Oricorio, which he's clearly decided is his best bench. You don't attach, well, he has actually already attached an energy, you don't need to here, so that's pretty much a perfect turn for Stefan. It is just looking for that Chorus's Experiment, because that will then put him from the 5 here up to 7 in the Lost Zone, and that's going to unlock that Mirage Gate.
I don't think I see it. There's the first flower selecting is going to remove Roxanne. I believe Stefan has a means of getting into another Comfey here, but he, like you say, doesn't have the Chorus just yet. Escape Rope is currently his only pivoting option. We see, I think it's Boss's Orders, Mirage Gate, Energy in hand. He's going to need a lot from this flower selecting if he's going to keep up with the tempo here.
Not ideal, and getting 4 cards in a Lost Zone turn 1 was great, because then you needed 1 flower selecting, plus your Chorus's Experiment,
yep.
Boom, I've got it on board. That was an ideal situation, but you need to get the Chorus, and we know that Stefan plays a couple of poker gear
yep.
to try and even increase the odds of hitting it, and it's not working this game. Does he have it now, though?
It's an early choice. Wow, look at that. Battle VIP to the zone, Chorus to the hand.
Literally best case scenario.
This is stunning. Stefan, is he able to find yet another switching out now? He's unlocked the Mirage Gate in hand. He'll also have to turn attach. He can Greninja for a few additional cards. So it looks like he might be taking energy to hand for an option with concealed cards. I didn't see 2 Mirage Gates, so he might still be fishing for a couple of pieces here.
It might. We've got
Poker Gear and Comfey, I think, hitting the Lost Zone. These seem like the best options. You can see 2 more cards with concealed cards here. He's still hoping to find the likes of Scoop Up Nets. That would be ideal. Or even a second Mirage Gate can allow him to retreat freely. So I feel like you would Mirage Gate first here, seeing as though we're looking for some item cards.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. Get the energy out of your deck so you don't accidentally draw into it. So here comes the Mirage Gate, and this is where the sequencing comes in really importantly. What you don't want to do is end up using your sealed cards and drawing into the energy that you should have Mirage Gated for. So here we're going to get the energy, and it's not an ideal start from Stefan here. He's clearly having to work for quite a bit getting those cards out. But he's still got the 8 cards in the Lost Zone. He's still got his Mirage Gate. He's still got his Gudra V. So, I said V-Star, in fact. So it's not perfect, but he's still working his way out of this, and he's playing it very, very well, even when it's not really what he wants to be doing.
Yeah, he's taking the opportunity now to look through his prize cards as well. There's that Drapion V right at the front of this deck. That's a huge tech card, obviously for this matchup, as its own ability allows you to reduce its attack cost essentially down to 0 based on how many Fusion Strike Pokemon are on the board for Oliver, and it can hit that crucial weakness into Mew V Max. But for now, it is going to be the Mirage Gate onto the Hisuian Gudra V. We know there's V-Star in hand. We know there's a turn attachment. There's also an energy for this concealed card, and I think that's the missing piece of the puzzle. Can we draw into another Mirage Gate or one of those Scoop Up Net or other retreating options?
Yeah, if he can pivot that Comfey out of the active, he is going to get an attack. Of course, that Oricorio now looking like an absolutely crucial piece, because that is going to stop the KO as it stands at the moment. So that was a very timely grab by Oliver there, making sure to keep that Genesect out of range of the Hisuian Gudra, at least for now. So we do see the evolution into the V-Star. That's lovely. And now it's whether we can get the concealed cards, getting some kind of pivoting option, whether that is an Escape Rope or a Switch or a Mirage Gate. There's a few different options, but does need to hit one of them.
Doesn't look like we have it. Stefan taking a moment of pause just to see if he has any other actions for this turn. If he wants to commit this energy just to retreat into possibly any other Pokemon, or if it's worth putting down any additional Pokemon. Even without the Rolling Iron, he is still going to attach his, commit his turn attachment to the Hisuian Gudra V-Star. He's also going to have a quick look. I know Oliver already discarded one of the power tablets with an early Ultra Ball, and that's something weighing on Stefan's mind here. because passing without rolling iron gives Oliver an easier route to knockout. Stefan's thinking, can I afford to bench this next Gudra just in case Oliver has that inspiring turn of knocking out a V-Star?
And it's really not all that much that you actually need. You essentially just need a gusting and you need 3 modifiers. Your power tablet or your choice belt, of course, double turbo energy, meaning you need that third because you are reducing the damage done by 20 because of that special energy card. And that would be, you know, if Stefan passes with 1 V-Star on the board and Oliver then gusts it up and knocks it out. And if I'm Oliver, that is it. I am beelining in on that play.
You understand why Stefan does this. It's too easy to give Oliver that prize map. If there's the easy V knockouts, it can then give Oliver easier routes towards Echoing Horn plays. It makes the Drapion far less effective because, again, you get to hoard your power tablets for other moments in the game. So Stefan is saying, Oliver, if you have that phenomenal hand, I'm in really bad shape, but I can still bench a Drapion and a Gudra on the same turn, take a response KO and still develop a Gudra. So I can still bounce back in this game, even if you have the perfect hand. You don't necessarily have to play all in on the Gudra with this deck. So I really like this choice from Stefan. He's made it as difficult as possible for Oliver this turn, and even if Oliver does get everything required, Stefan can still bounce back with that Drapion.
No, you're absolutely right. It is worth noting that although a lot of the Mews do play that Echoing Horn, I'm not seeing it in Oliver's list here. He's chosen not to play it for a little bit of extra consistency or maybe some extra tricks. There's a lot you need to try and fit into the deck nowadays. So we do see the draw coming up with the Genesect here, and I'm not loving the hand there. We've got a couple of Path to the Peak, which is going to turn off your own Genesect. It doesn't look like a hand with lots of things you can get rid of. So we are seeing the Forest Seal Stone here. What's he searching for?
The second piece of the cross switcher by the looks of things, so he can thin those from hand and target the Hisuian Gudra. I think that definitely makes sense. It unlocks the hand a little bit for Oliver. I think he has got Path to the Peak, so he could try and do it with a Path and force Stefan to have a bounce if he was able to Moisture Star. Or, again, there's already a Lost Vacuum in Oliver's hand, so he could play the Path and simply vacuum it away and continue drawing more cards with Genesect here.
Yeah, that one is always an option. So we do see the cross switcher there. Hisuian Gudra V-Star is in the active. We don't have any modifiers at the moment, and the one on the bench actually has a big Parasol.
Yeah.
So here is the Lost Vacuum, actually getting rid of the Forest Seal Stone. Yeah. And a Path to the Peak goes in the Lost Zone as well. And now we're drawing more cards with Genesect. We've got a power tablet
and a Cramomatic.
Ooh.
It could come down to a coin flip here if we can reach.
Yeah, getting rid of a quick ball there with the Cram. He's already got all his Pokemon out. This is pretty big. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah,
it must have been a
searching
heads.
the deck, so it's a heads.
That's how we know.
Yeah, that would only be the second power tablet coming to the hand for Oliver, so he would still need a choice belt or another power tablet thanks to that reduction of double turbo energy.
Yeah, but he is getting very, very close, of course, with Hisuian Gudra.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
okay,
he's got
so he searches out the choice belt. I got overexcited. I thought he was... he actually grabbed the choice belt first to guarantee this, and now it's going to be a power pad, and then I think still one more Genesect to go here to see if we can access that third power tablet.
And here's the problem. If he misses a power tablet, then you can still attack into the Gudra, but you're going to be doing like 250, which means Gudra can then Moisture Star and get rid of all of that damage. Did Oliver keep a Path to the Peak in hand?
So he has another Path to the Peak in hand, so that would be the fallback. If we do not see it from this last Genesect, he can still try and deny that Moisture Star. 4 big cards.
Oh, he got it on the last
last card. Incredible scenes.
Oh, and a judge
followed
as well.
by a judge. And when your opponent is mulling over whether or not they should play a card, it gives you that little bit of information. And Stefan taking the time in that last turn, deliberating over certain things, gave Oliver some initiative, gave him some information. And now Oliver is trying to completely remove that and make life even more awkward for Stefan here.
Absolutely. Was there an argument to play the Path to the Peak before the judge? Maybe try and slow down a Drapion?
It's weird because if you judge and the path ends up sticking for a while, it could end up actually helping Stefan, even if he just passes with like a one prize Pokemon in the active position. So I think this is the less risky play.
Yeah.
The second Cramorant not quite hitting the heads, but Oliver having the fantastic turn as he copies Techno Blast with 3 damage modifiers to score a knockout on Stefan's only V Pokemon.
Yeah, and that was absolutely what Oliver needed to do that turn. That was the play he was dreaming of. He's only gone up by 2 prizes. It's not the end of the world for Stefan yet. But of course, there will be no Gudra V-Star this turn. He's going to have to go with a V, and the V is a lot more awkward because that can be taken out with just a single damage modifier, which, so Stefan kind of has to play the V this turn, you
Interesting.
think, but he's actually lost zoning one from a flower selecting.
Yeah, I feel like part of Stefan's plan should be to create a Gudra and Drapion turn if possible.
Yes.
Does have access to capture energy, so maybe we just haven't seen enough of Stefan's hand here. Otherwise, you can try and use a Drapion and maybe start using some single prize Pokemon, but at some point you'll still have to use a Gudra. Your single prizes don't deal enough damage overall. Stefan is going to target the Drapion V here. He can already retreat out of his Comfey thanks to the capture energy attachments. So 3 prizes are secured. It's just how else he navigates his turn, because this is great. This keeps you up in the race, but Oliver can come back swinging, taking another 2-prize knockout, and we already have the other Hisui and Gudra. So Stefan has already got everything he needs, essentially, here.
Yeah, I like this. We saw this earlier on with Drapion plays in previous decks. Basically going, look, you want my Drapion, you have to get my Drapion, so you can't go after my Gudra. This gives me a turn where I know it's going to be able to evolve, and we do see the KO with Drapion there. Stefan taking 3 prizes, and now this is what it comes down to. Oliver is going to get the KO on Drapion. That's not an issue. The issue here is what Stefan's got after this.
It's a Lost City as well from Oliver. So the Drapion will be dealt with for good. It's not coming back, especially with a Choice Belt now. That allows you to actually take the knockouts. We see the first Fusion Strike system from Genesect into the Roxanne. This is exactly what Oliver needs to do here to put the maximum amount of pressure on Stefan. There is just a lone Gudra V on the bench. It doesn't have any energy. And off of Roxanne, Stefan now is going to have to find a way towards Mirage Gate, maybe even some Ordinary Rod combos to recycle some energy and get a turn attachment. It's asking a lot just from 2 cards.
It really is. And of course, if you don't get the evolution this turn, the next turn Oliver can just gust up the Gudra, and that's going to be the game. And there was a really nice play from Oliver there where he used Lost Vacuum to get rid of the big Parasol on the Mew and then slip on the Choice Belt, which you need because of the damage reduction from the double turbo. So really well played by Oliver here. He knows this deck inside out, and I'm seeing a 6 on this, so we're seeing another any card you like.
Not too shabby. Oliver might be at this stage figuring out how he closes out this game, because you will once again be copying Technoblast. He needs to move in and out of the active if he's expecting this Mew V Max to tank a hit, which it looks like as soon as the Drapion is dealt with, that will be the case. So Oliver has to work towards finding boss's orders, ideally, and then a way to move in and out of his active position. That's why we're seeing another Mew hit the board, because that can be one of your retreat options, and then you can switch back in to a different Pokemon. We can also see another attachment for turn from Oliver, and just cycling even more cards through this deck.
Yeah, of course, Mew with free retreat, you can always just set 2 Mew up and just retreat 1 into the other to get around the Technoblast. So Oliver giving himself all of the options here, getting that KO on the Drapion, going down to 2 prizes, and now it's really over to Stefan here. If we can see an evolution, a Mirage Gate, an attachment, a pivot option, getting going, you know, attacking with a Gudra, then this is going to be a very, very different game. If Stefan doesn't have much this turn, I do have faith that Oliver's going to be able to find a gusting option to finish the game next turn.
Stefan taking a moment, looking through some options here. So he's not completely out of it. He also has some paralysis plays, potentially from Articuno, that you can try and attempt here, put some prep damage onto a Mew at the same time. If a Gudra V-Star is built this turn, it can still tank a few hits, and Oliver can't really chase it as soon as it becomes a V-Star. There's been too many power tablets played, and Stefan still has his own V-Star power that would undo some damage. So even though Stefan is quite behind on prizes, he can still try and represent a chunky Gudra that could sit on the board for a while here, as we see a boss's orders eventually hit the Lost Zone from Flower Selecting. And we also have a concealed cards here from Stefan.
Yeah, going through those cards. Both of these decks are no stranger to drawing cards. They can both get through quite a lot of their deck. And we can see, you know, that Roxanne, you know, it gave Stefan a 2-card hand, except it's not stayed as a 2-card hand for very long between Flower Selecting, concealed cards. Now we do see a switch. So it's another Flower Selecting here, looking at another 2 cards, and just hopefully finding some kind of answer to what Oliver's got here. I'm looking at Oliver's gusting options. He plays 2 boss, 1 of which is prized, and 4 cross switcher. So there is a chance of actually just gusting 2 single prize Pokemon and finishing the game out that way if he doesn't want to go through the Gudra V-Star. Yeah,
and also has Pal Pad for some recycle as well if need be. So many ways you can try and target the opponent's bench. That's always been sort of the brand identity of Mew. It finds the easy prizes wherever it can. And Stefan is going to fin a Cramorant with this capture energy and put that into play before his final Flower Selecting here.
Yeah, that's always a nice plan with that one. It's not a huge amount of damage here, but it could be an attacker. But then you only want to give up the single prize attacker. But still, there are some things that can KO. There's some options later on in the game. I mean, certainly, if you can take out like a Genesect and an Oricorio, maybe. But I feel like it's too late to go down that route. I mean, the Drapion here would be amazing, frankly. But there's a good reason all of us
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing at every point in the game against the Mew. That's why it's in the deck list as a tech card. There's going to be another Capture Energy hitting the Lost Zone here for Stefan. Finally finds Chorus, so let's see 5 additional cards here. Certainly looking to at least get into a V-Star to protect his board from losing in 1 turn.
Yeah, and from my count, that is at least 10 extra cards he's now seen in addition to the 2 he was given from Roxanne. It's been going pretty well for Stefan, but I say that, all he's really done is draw cards so far. He's not attaching energy, he's not evolving Pokemon. You know, the only attacker he's got on the board at the moment is Cramorant, which really is not doing very much against the Mew V Max. So...
Oliver just getting familiar with Articuno once again. I think he's actually come across it once before in the tournament. But Stefan is going to Lost Zone, Raihan, and Mirage Gate by the looks of things. It's an indication that it's probably a pretty decent 3 cards that he saw here.
You'd hope so, because you're going to need a Mirage Gate or something. Oh, Temple of Sinnoh is nice. Turns those double turbo energy into just single colorless energy.
Yep.
Now the Cramorant comes active, and the math does actually work here, because 110 from the Cramorant plus 200 from the Goodra then will get a KO on the Mew, which is 3 prizes and the game. So I'm assuming that's where he's going here. The math does line up.
Yeah,
oh, no, it doesn't because of the Oricorio, the reduction.
So Oliver has closed out the game here. He was able to cross-switch it. It was already in the hand. He can bounce the Temple of Sinnoh and get the knockout on Hisuian Goodra. So Oliver already with the cards required to close out that first game.
Oh, and that was excellent play from Oliver there. I just really does a well-played Mew is, you know you're going to hit the Drapion. Most decks nowadays are playing a Drapion. We see this time and time again. Getting around the 1 Drapion, if you can't get around the 1, you shouldn't be playing Mew. It really is as simple as that. Oliver did that beautifully, got the Lost City, got rid of it, but then it was, you know, reaching a little bit to get rid of the single Goodra V-Star at the beginning of the game. That was absolutely huge to give him that advantage as we went forward in the game. And like you say, though, we saw a really long turn from Stefan, settling for the 90 damage from Cramorant, and then Oliver was like, oh, cool, replace Stadium Gust.
Yeah, and it looked for everything that Stefan had a really good turn 1, a really good turn 2, but was just lacking that pivot option. And as long as you're not rolling ironing with the Goodra, it's well in range for these Mew players.
Oh, yes, very much indeed. And the thing is, we actually saw 2 times that Oricorio was pretty crucial in that game, protecting from the rolling iron turn 1 or 2, and then actually at the end, when there would have been a potential 2-hit KO, but for the Oricorio. So I think that's one we're probably going to see coming out every game at this stage.
Yeah, it's one of those where there's subtle math going on, and that Oricorio is such a staple in the deck list. Sometimes it prevents 1-hit KOs from certain Pokemon or forces additional resources, and in this instance, it's preventing some 2-hit KO routes, or even forces things like Choice Belt into the mix, and that's what it's all about here, trying to force additional outs, especially when Oliver is looking to utilize those Judge and Roxanne so effectively.
Yeah, and we did see the disruption from Mew coming down beautifully there. We saw the Roxanne, we saw the Judge. Path to the Peak not really used like that, but it was never really the turn where he could. But I think what we saw a lot from Oliver was, you know, there were a couple heads on Cram, which is nice, but you're also setting up with the Forest Seal Stone, and then you got all the Genesect. Oliver didn't really miss anything in that game. Everything he needed, he had access to it on the turn he needed it. And that's just basically a good Mew list being played by a good Mew player.
Yeah, you can never write off Mew, because if something's in their range, you know they're going to go hunting for it at times. And already we're looking at some awkward prize cards for Oliver. Double Mew VMAX.
Now, he does play free, which is good. I've seen a bunch of lists playing 2. Playing free is very thankful at this stage, but that still means you need to start taking prizes quickly.
In the prizes for Stefan.
That's a lot worse.
And Stefan does not play Hisuian Heavy Ball, just to confirm. It is in the top right of his prize cards. Stefan has a Comfey lead, already has Radiant Greninja, so his board state is looking strong, but he's going to get the bad news as soon as he has a deck search here.
Oh, this is not good. Having 2 of your free Mew VMAX prize, that is awkward. Having your only Drapion prize, that is devastating. Because the whole point of this matchup is you can navigate either a couple of KOs or an awkward Hisuian Goodra because the Drapion gets those free prizes. You're basically playing a free prize game knowing that the Drapion is going to get the cheeky KO. But especially with the fact that players generally take prizes bottom to top, we've seen Stefan do that here. here, that Drapion basically isn't coming out of the game.
No, and it's put into the deck list because you think that your list doesn't have enough without it. It's exactly there to try and swing this matchup. Now we're going to have to see a lot of heavy lifting from Gudra if Stefan's going to be able to navigate this game too.
Yeah, things has got a whole lot more difficult. We do have a couple of flower selecting cover cards on the Lost Zone. Turn 1 is lovely. That is going to mean that those Mirage Gate are on board that little bit quicker. We do see a escape rope going in the Lost Zone. That's not particularly difficult. And we've actually got a bit more we can do here. There's still a scoop up net in hand, at least.
Yeah, we haven't seen any Battle VIP pass just yet, so I think still fishing for those and utilizing your pivots is well worth it. We see a Gudra, which is not a bad pickup, alongside the Poker Gear. And it is going to be the Poker Gear that finds its way into the Lost Zone. Hisuian Gudra can be benched in the opening stages once again. It is going to be a capture energy as well, and this is Stefan's first deck search. Let's have a look at his facial expression, see if he gives anything away.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a reason we have the player cams. We want to see how the players are reacting. We want to watch the body language. We want to be able to see how they're feeling throughout the game. And unfortunately, yeah, and we've gone through the deck once. We're having a look again, and this is where Stefan is realizing, where is my Drapion V? Yeah. I hate to break it to you. You're going to have to go without it.
Yeah, I mean, he's keeping calm, and he's doing an excellent job of portraying a man who's not under any pressure, but my goodness, you're a game down and your tech card has been prized. It's such an awkward position to be in. At the very least, we could see even more Confe or a double Gudra this time around. Yeah, so he already has Gudra in hand. He's capturing for that second Hisuian Gudra. We can even see a pay retreat into another Confe and additional flower selecting, but this is where Stefan's saying, right, Drapion's not here. I need to go V-Stars as quickly as possible, make them tanky and make them difficult for Oliver, because I need these to stick around the board for a number of turns.
And there is absolutely no way Stefan is going to leave a single Hisuian Gudra out this game like he did in the first game, because if you don't have the Drapion to fall back on, that is a risk you can't take. It was a risk you took in game 1, knowing that the Drapion's got your back if it doesn't work, but without that, you need to make sure that that Hisuian Gudra is coming out. So we do see a manual retreat there with the capture energy for another flower selecting, and second game in a row, Stefan's got actually 5 cards in the Lost Zone without using a supporter. That means Mirage Gate is going to be on turn 2, and that's what Stefan needs. He needs a turn 2 Gudra V-Star attacking.
Yeah, from Oliver's perspective, Stefan's doing everything right. He's really getting well set up. He's getting as close as he can to that 7 threshold for Mirage Gate as he finally passes things over after a ton of flower selects. 5 flower selectings that turn, as well as the concealed cards. Let's see how Oliver's opening hand is looking. Well, there's your answer. Very strong. There's a Mew in the active. Now 3 Genesects in play, as well as an Oricorio. And Oliver now, the one thing he has to keep in the back of his mind is that there is only access to 1 Mew V Max right now. He does also play Silene and Palpad, so that's another card he's going to have to keep an eye on throughout the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not the end of the world. He just knows he needs to make sure that that first Mew is taking a couple of prizes. Of course, this is where the Drapion would be so useful for Stefan. Yeah. Because if Oliver takes the KO...
Look at this, double VIP.
Oh, that's big.
It's just that easy. He's double really VIP, you're a game up. Oh, my goodness, must be nice.
It must be nice. But if Oliver were to take a KO and not get the Mew V Max, and then Stefan dropped Drapion, that would be game. Yeah. Oliver would be out of attackers. That's one of the reasons why this is the worst game to have Drapion prized. It's because Oliver
could have capitalized on Oliver's bad luck. Yeah,
really
exactly.
Capitalized.
See a quick ball getting rid of a lost city just to... Oh, no, it's a lost vacuum, excuse me. Oliver just double-checking. And, yeah, going to take no target just to reduce his hand size as we begin with some Fusion Strike systems. I think because we have already developed Oricorio, Oliver's well aware that he's staying out of range of Rolling Iron. And with so many cards in the Lost Zone, I think it definitely makes sense to retreat into a Genesect this turn. Let's see what else he can draw. Can he get towards turn attachment? It looks like he has. And can he work towards possibly even Forest Seal Stone and banking that on the board somewhere?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that is the plan.
One card to see from another Genesect here.
Yeah.
Before making any other decision. Does he get into a Judge or any other hand disruption? You know Stefan's on his way. Now debating whether or not to Parasol. He's actually going to go to the benched Mew. We saw how important the choice belts were for his damage modification on the last turn. Oh, we actually see the Silene proactively here from Oliver as well. This is pretty awkward for him. He's now played the Silene, gets no value, I don't think.
That was double tails, you know.
Double tails. Path to the peak, interestingly enough.
Now,
and retreats into the Mew rather than the Genesect.
Yeah, that
so it
Mew
can
is in
still get
range.
knocked out by, yeah, exactly, Rolling Iron. So Oliver not taking the safest route possible, but is hoping that Path of the Peak maybe slows some of the draws from Stefan instead.
Yeah, that's what you got to do here, of course. Gudra hits 200, and your Oricorio reduces it by 20.
Yeah.
So your 190 Genesect survives, but your 180 Mew does not. So if I'm Stefan here, I need to get my Hisuian Gudra going, take a KO on the Mew, and just give myself those first 2 prizes, and then just... Well, from there, you can take a couple of hits from the Mew VMAX. So
yeah.
This is a big turn for Stefan here. If he's going to be able to win this game without Drapion, he really needs to have a big turn here.
And he knows his route to victory would be cherry-picking that Drapion out of the prizes. So he's going to prioritize taking early knockouts as quickly as possible because he knows that if he is able to draw into that Drapion, he unfortunately doesn't know how high up it is in those prizes. He thinks that could be a route to winning. So already we're seeing double flower selecting, getting Stefan to 7, and Mirage Gates are unlocked. We're going to see some good... Wow, double Mirage Gate in the hand.
Nice.
Absolutely incredible. That's going to set up at least one Gudra and the next one underway here.
Yeah, and this is good. Just make Oliver go through 2 fully powered Gudra V-Stars at least. The other 2 prizes are probably going to be simple enough, but make him go through 2 of your V-Stars and just... Because even if Oliver has kind of figured out that the Drapion is prized, or even if he figures out in a minute, he doesn't know when Stefan's going to draw it off the prizes. Only we and the people watching at home know it. Basically, everybody but these 2 know that. But the point is, you've still got to prepare for it could come down as soon as Stefan takes the prize.
So Mirage Gate providing the retreat option for the Hisuian Gudra. Haven't seen any V-Star yet, but there we go. Obviously had to come through, and it is going to be a turn attachment to the other Hisuian Gudra V on the bench. And it will just be a Rolling Iron taking 2 prize cards. Unfortunately, it's not the Drapion, of course. But Stefan has to keep calm here. He's at least been able to take 2 cheeky prizes, and that's not always easy against Mew with an Oricorio around.
No, it's really not. Sometimes you're able to gust up those Genesect, get cheeky prizes, but not with the Oricorio out. Now, we do see the VMAX coming down from Ollie, and of course, he needs to be able to try and get some, one of the other 2 off the prizes sooner rather than later. He's not going to get a KO on the Hisuian Gudra. The damage is reduced by 80 at this stage, but we do see
Look at least this, going down to a 0-card hand, I believe. Because of Path of the Peak, so he is just going to use Boss's Orders Power Tablet, has the VMAX and takes a response knockout immediately, and that's it for his turn. We're straight back over to Stefan after we've leveled up that prize race.
And this is what you were saying earlier about Path of the Peak potentially doing more harm to Ollie than good, because turning off those Genesect is not ideal. So Stefan here, there is a little bit of an opening. There's only 1 Mew VMAX on the board. It attacked last turn, so it can't attack this turn without switching or coming back into the active. So maybe Stefan get a couple of turns here of attacking, and this could end up being a huge advantage. He just needs to keep streaming those attacks.
Yeah, and a big inhale of breath for Oliver. As you see, a Chorus hit the loss zone. He doesn't know that he's safe from a Drapion, and were his Mew to go down, he'd be, out of everything. He'd have no backup Mew at all. So as Stefan looks through these cards, Oliver's got to be sweating a little bit.
Oh yeah, a Drapion here would end the game.
Yeah.
Oliver scoops if a Drapion hits them through. I 100% believe that, because you have no attackers on the board and no attackers in the deck.
Yeah.
It's hard to win if you can't attack when you're an attacking deck. So that Drapion being prized is really bailing out Ollie here. But Stefan, you know what? Still needs to actually get rolling. Still needs to be taking some attacks. And if he can get a 2-hit KO here without Oliver taking a prize in between, that will still end this game.
Well, I mean, you can always Pal Pad back Silene, then we're coin flipping to try and find that 1 VMAX once again. That's the only way out.
Pal Pad to Silene to flip, yes, I agree, would work.
Well, sometimes it works, not always.
It's at least an out, I suppose. I mean, to be fair, it's better than not having an out at all, so I'll take it.
For sure. And Stefan just looking at Oliver's resources. I think there's only been 1 power tablet so far. I don't think there's been many others. There's still choice belts rattling around in the deck. Still, I think that's 2 Boss's Orders committed as well. So it would force, maybe some crazy cross-switcher combo if he was going to get around a Rolling Iron all in 1 turn. We're going to see the turn attachment to retreat Comfey here. It is going to be the Hisuian Gudra V-Star into the active position, and we have to use a Rolling Iron here, certainly. And that's all it's going to be. 180 damage thanks to the reduction of Oricorio, and we're back over to Oliver. Let's see how those prizes and top deck has treated him.
Top deck to Mew, that's huge. That's absolutely huge, because at least now he can protect. Oh, I like this. I like this play. Getting into the Genesect, which we know is safe because of the Oricorio, but getting that Mew down was huge, because at least gives a chance of a backup attacker.
And no boss's orders either, which is massive for Oliver. Stefan is able to cycle through more cards of the deck with a Colress here. But again, he's in a decent spot. Can Stefan find a choice belt here? If he can, it would push him over the reduction of an Oricorio for a knockout. And then he's just one more gust away from winning the game.
Absolutely. He is only playing one of the choice belts. Not going to be the easiest thing to find, but if he is able to stretch and find it, that would be a huge KO here. And then, well, I mean, at this stage, basically anything would be in range of that Gudra, which would be nice.
Yeah, we see a Capture Energy committed to that benched Comfey. Will Stefan commit any more Gudra to this board? We've already seen one knocked out quickly by Oliver on site. But Oliver has been through a number of gusting cards. Stefan may... No, it's just going to be another Comfey digging deeper through the deck. And he's saying, Gudra, you're all I've got. I'm going to try and make you as big as possible and hope this path is slowing down Oliver enough that I can just roll my way to victory.
Yeah, and that is, it seems like a pretty good play right now. Don't give Oliver any easy prizes. And it is just a hit for 180. And Oliver, oh, he's got himself a Cram-O-Matic. This is a huge flip. And it is...
Tails.
Oh,
so it's going to be...
And it looks like Oliver's picking up his cards. That is a concession, and we are going to one game each. We are going to a game 3. That was a very tense game. And Stefan Ivanov just won a game against Mew without Drapion.
Yeah, back against the wall. A game down, your key tech card inaccessible to you. And still you find a way to overcome Oliver, who's been a tricky customer so far. And it's been a fantastic display from Stefan. Eventually able to get the Gudra developed, and it was too much for Oliver there with the Path to the Peak of his own slowing him down. And
I do think that is going to, you know, I think Oliver's going to be thinking about that as we go into this game. Oliver's going to be remembering, I put that Path to the Peak down, and at the time it was a good play. Yeah. However, it really came back to bite me, and it's hard to forget that. It's hard to go into the game when that just happened and think, well, I'll play Path to the Peak if I need to. You're going to be a little bit, at least I would be a little bit cagier playing it again now.
Yeah, and it looked like it worked for him. The Path to the Peak stopped a Drapion play from his point of view.
Absolutely.
So it felt correct, and it bought Oliver some turns. The Cram-O-Matic, if that's a heads, then he's able to, again, start sifting through a ton of cards as we get a great update here from the other top 8 games. Looks like Nico has been able to progress into top 4, overcoming Lorenz, who was playing the Gudra archetype. So Nico doing very well with that Arceus Duraludon. It looks like we have Bernardo and Vinny at 1 game apiece. We have it 1-1 here on the stream. And Tord is a game down in his top 8 match.
Against Joel, who we saw earlier. So we've got some very good players here. It is interesting that Tord is down again. You should never be counting Tord out. Nico's through, and the other games, like you said, tied at 1 game apiece. Really could go either way here. So do we have a bubble in top 8?
Yes, I think there was one 32-point player who didn't quite make it in because we had all of our final round games complete that were win-and-ins. So there was one player in at 9th, unfortunately. But let's not dwell on that. We have 2 top 8 competitors right here, and Oliver is kicking off this game 3. Stefan has now started his Drapion. It's another awkward situation for him.
And he's going second, and that is a very big difference, because Oliver can just take his turn 1 like normal, and then turn 2, get your VMAX, attach your double turbo energy, and then just go after it. You will need that 1 damage modifier, as we know, but it shouldn't be that hard to find with your average Mew deck. So that is actually horrendous, because these Gudra decks, they do not have space to be playing recovery cards. And again, stop me if I'm being silly here, Joe. I'm not really seeing any recovery cards here. If that Drapion hits the discard pile, it's gone. You don't want to start it.
Well, you have Ordinary Rod, but there's Lost City. Lost City can completely deny you there. So that's going to be Oliver's prerogative. However, Oliver's turn wasn't great. It was just a quick ball, a Mew attached pass. Now, in some ways, he's playing around Drapion beautifully because he's playing around that wild style ability. to deny Dynamic Tail from simply smacking into a Genesect, but I think he would have preferred to go wide and included an Oricorio on his board to once again stay out of range of a knockout. So just having not many playables in his hand by the looks of things, as Stefan has the optimal Battle VIP pass. Let's see if he can protect his Drapion and start cycling through his deck.
That would be big, and while we're talking about Battle VIP pass, of course, that is only playable on your first turn of the game, so Oliver's now lost access to that. That is why that was such a bad turn, and it's not ideal. That Drapion can be already running back if it's not hit with Lost City, but it's all too awkward. You want to play it down as a surprise, so Stefan here is going to get the comfort and at least force Oliver to have a better setup and some gusting if he wants to take out the Drapion.
Look at this. Stefan really is in his mind palace right now. He's really taking deep breaths, closing his eyes, taking all the information in he can, and making sure he's not missing a single thing with his decision-making as he does elect for double flower selecting Comfey. He did prize his Radiant Greninja there, so that's not available to him right now. As Oliver's also prized some awkward basic Pokemon. We do see a switch for Stefan, so the Drapion is out of the active, which is fantastic, and we will begin flower selecting now.
We've actually prized 2 Genesect and both Forest Seal Stone for Oliver here, so that is going to make his deck a lot less consistent, and actually prized one of the 2 Lost City, which could be very useful for taking out that Drapion. So if I'm Ollie, this is 2 games in a row where the prizes have really not helped him, and actually he's got a Mew in the prizes, and he's had to put one in the discard already, so now there's only one of those available. So this is a bad start from Oliver, and I'm liking Stefan if he can just set up here, get his Gudra rolling like we've seen in previous games. This at least looks at the start like it's going to be an easier game for Stefan, because Oliver has been done no favours by his prizes or his opening hand.
We already see a capture energy for Stefan. We've seen 2 flower selecting so far, and opting to go for Cramorant means Stefan might be looking for some tempo damage here potentially, rather than just being content selecting the turn away.
Yeah, I kind of like that sometimes as well. I mean, especially if you see your opponent having a bad start, if you see that your opponent doesn't have the Oricorio, just go, you know what? I think you've had a bad start this game. I'm going to start getting some cheeky damage down with Cramorant, and if you don't draw out of this fast, and I know that you rely on Battle VIP Pass, if you don't draw out of it fast, I'm actually going to be able to start taking some prizes with my Cramorant on the way to getting my Gudra out, and maybe I still get to use the Drapion, you never know.
So Colress will get Stefan to that break point of 4 cards in the Lost Zone. So Cramorant is now available as an option. Is it going to be something alongside, possibly even an Escape Rope can be a really strong play here. It would then allow a Gudra to be a 2-hit KO threat option, just in case the Drapion is targeted down. And we see a Battle VIP Pass. You have to feel like there's going to be some Gudra coming out now.
Oh, you've got to get some goo out of this Battle VIP Pass. Got to happen. Wouldn't mind another Comfey there as well, but it looks like there is a Gudra, and then the question is, do we go double Gudra here? It is Comfey and Gudra. That's what I would have gone for. I like this. Extra flower selecting on board. Because the other thing is, you know if Oliver's got a chance to gust and KO a 2-prizer on your bench, he's not going for your Gudra.
No, absolutely not. And looks like Stefan's having an amazing turn here. I wonder if he'll continue to select, or if he does have plans to deal some damage. Even a Cramorant hit into the Genesect can be valuable. If you're able to use your Radiant Greninja later on in the game, it can be very solid. It's a second Hisuian Gudra from hand here, so it will be a pay retreat, and we are going to see a Spit Innocently here for 110 damage. Just make Oliver have an even better hand. He hasn't got many Pokemon in play, so in this instance, it may be difficult for Oliver to reduce cards.
And I like this a lot because also, Marnie's quite big. I'm just saying that there's a 2-hit KO with a Spit Innocently because of the lack of Oricorio. Even if it comes down this turn, it's still a 2-hit KO. But the Marnie's going to help Ollie, or is it? Oh, there's not much. We got Path to the Peak. There is the Oricorio, but that's a turn too late, like I said.
Oh, but if he put this down, Stefan can attach to his Drapion now and find a Boss's Ortus, and that could deal with a Mew.
Oh, I like that as well, actually.
Okay, look at this. The Path of the Peak having to be sacrificed with his own Lost Vacuum. So the Genesect is drawing 3 additional cards here. no help at all. There's a switch, but that feels way too risky to bring a Mew in for a 1 prize when there's a Drapion staring you down.
No, there is absolutely no way you can do that. And you're right, like we always think about Drapion.
Look at Oliver.
Oh, he's not loving it. He is going for the switch, but into the Oricorio, which is, I mean, you're probably giving up a prize to Cramorant, but then again, there's a chance here that Cramorant takes out the Oricorio and the Genesect, and then Drapion takes out Mew. Like, there's a real chance that those are just 7-6 prizes already established on the board. And we think about Drapion as being free, because it always is pretty much, but it's a 4 energy attack reduced by 1 for each Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike, or Single Strike Pokemon out. So now that there's free out, like you say, single turn attach, Drapion actually can go and get a KO. So if you can find a gusting option, which is not the hardest thing in the world, you've got to think you do that.
Yeah, we've already seen the scoop up net, so Stefan is opting not to simply spit innocently for the easy prize that was on the table for him.
Yeah.
Also saying no to an energy card. Has that got him any closer? I mean, wow, a Pokegear here. This could be huge.
This I like.
If we see boss's orders and if Stefan has access to another pivot option and to turn attachment, he could be knocking out the only Mew in play for Oliver here. I don't even see what the target was.
No, unfortunately, I did not see what the target was, which is a very upsetting turn of events. Hey-ho, can't win them all.
I feel like if there's no... Okay, we got a little piece of the hand here. Hisui and Gudra V-Star finally coming into play. That's definitely another mission. We see switch here. It's going to be into... Oh, my goodness. It's attached.
He's got it. He
and
must have it. He's got it.
And Oliver just gives up.
Oh, my goodness. He just concedes, and Stefan makes it into the top 4 of the Utrecht special event. That was wild, Joe.
Thrilling. I mean, wow. And look at what it means to Stefan. It's on his face. He's just completely exploded with emotion there. It was such a tense game. It's a difficult matchup for Hisui and Gudra. It's overcome Stefan before, even with a Drapion in his deck list. But this time around, he's able to overcome the Mew player. So it's fantastic to see how he's adapted his play style. And you see the winner's pose there from Stefan.
Oh, yeah, that was such a good game plan there. And like you say, the second that Oricorio hit the bench, you're like, hang on a second.
Wait a minute,
Drapion is actually an option here with a manual attachment. And as soon as it goes in the active, you know he's got it. And I don't blame Oliver for conceding there, because he knew there was a Mew prized. I think he knew there was a Mew prized.
Yeah, he'd already discarded one with his first search.
Exactly. And he knew he had nothing on the board, no attackers, a very heavily damaged Genesect, and a single prizer. And there was no way back at that stage. Stefan was going to KO the Genesect and the Oricorio, and that was going to be the game. So a kind of surprisingly quick game 3. And especially, from what we saw in the previous games, that was really interesting. It's interesting that the game that Stefan had everything going right, it didn't work. But the game he prizes a Drapion and the game he starts a Drapion, neither of which you want. I got these.
Yeah, Stefan adapting to survive, finding a way of being able to win a game without the use of Drapion and then starting it. There could have been easily a situation where it's dealt with and an easy 2-prize knockout is taken against him and Drapion actively hurts him in his deck. But Oliver didn't have a great start in that third game, only could develop 1 Mew, and Stefan found the out with the Pokegear, the new addition to his deck list that he's adapted from his previous high placement with Gudra, that just sealed the win and got his place into top 4.
And that's what's interesting about cards like Pokegear. Like, it's played for Chorus's Experiment. It's such an important card in the deck, getting it early and often. You play it to you can't play a 5th Chorus's Experiment.
You would.
You would if you could. So you go and play your Pokegear instead. That's what you're doing. It's not actually there for boss's orders, but you know what? If you're desperate for boss's orders, that is a great card to come into your hand.
Yeah, and it closed out the game for Stefan there. Commiserations to Oliver. I think he was only really gunning for like a top 16. I think now, he was talking to me earlier on, with this top 8, he just needs a decent finish at the EUIC to secure his invite. So I'm happy for him to have such a great tournament. But for Stefan, he's progressing into that top 4.
So if we have a bit of a look at the updated bracket here, we have got 3 of our players gone through. We saw that Vinny did take down Bernardo 2-1. We just saw Stefan Ivanov taking Oliver out 2-1. Nico Alabas got that 2-0 victory, and Tord Reklev has evened it up against Joel Delandrino. So we still do. We've got one match. We've got Vinny Shelfout, sorry about that pronunciation, against Stefan Ivanov in one of our top 4 games.
Yeah, and that's a Gudra mirror.
Oh, Gudra, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, so lots of Gudra doing very well, going deep into this tournament. Nico is going to be playing that Arceus Duraludon deck, of course, and Tord's brought one back and is finishing off that best of 3 right now.
Absolutely, and Tour, of course, is our last chance to have a Lugia. We saw, you know, both of the tournaments last weekend, 2 big tournaments, both of which had 6 Lugia in top 8 and saw a Lugia champion. We had 1 Lugia in top 8 here, and it's kind of hanging on toward 1 game 2. If we're going to see Lugia winning again, it's got to be Tord.
Well, the deck that Tord's brought is very different. Like, yes, it's Lugia, but the conventional wisdom has been, let's play that 3-2 Lugia line. Let's play all of our one-of attackers and have sort of 16 energy to work around with. Let's have things like Irida coming into the deck list with a number of one-of item cards. Let's have Birdkeeper to get me out of paralysis and other awkward situations. And Tord's gone, no, I just like my 4-ofs. I'm going to have my 4-of research, my high boss's orders count, and have, I think it's 18 energy in his deck list, or at least 17. He's gone full theme deck with Lugia, and he's once again doing really well.
Well, one of the Worlds decks we were playing just before that round was the Restaurant Typhlosion, and that got printed as a Worlds deck, and that was a very straightforward deck where it's just, I'm going to play Typhlosion and Restaurant. These are the Pokemon I play. And we've seen top players for years adopt this strategy of, if there is a best deck, I am going to play the fastest, most consistent version of this deck. And if I lose to the occasional really teched out counter, I lose to the occasional really teched out counter. But if Lugia is the best deck, I'm just going to play Lugia as the best deck, and I'm going to have faith in it as a good deck, and I'm going to make sure I'm not complaining I only got 1 Archeops out, so I think that's pretty good. The good news is, you know, keep the good news rolling. We have a winner. We have a winner's interview, so let's go and hear from Stefan Ivanov after that thrilling best-of-3 victory.
Thank you, casters. I am here, Alex Dow, in the casters lounge once again with a very good friend and winner of our top 8 match, Stefan Ivanov. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, amazing matchup to see the game unfold. How did you feel going into that matchup against Oliver?
Honestly, not very confident because I lost against Mew right in finals of 2 events this year, Bilbao and Liverpool. So, you know, facing Mew on stream again, in Top Cut again, it's not the easiest matchup, so I was a bit afraid, but it worked out.
Yeah, a bit of a bogey matchup it has been for you in recent times, but of course we've now had a chance to see you showcasing Gudra twice now on stream. Game 1 obviously went to Mew and Oliver. Game 2, you had a bit of a sticky situation because the Drapion V was in the prizes.
Yeah, and I was just in the Drapion V, I was in the prizes, I was like, oh no, and then I was like, actually, this is when it's you know, when the power-up activates, you know, it's like, when, okay, the situation is desperate, it's terrible, I'm gonna do everything I can, and fortunately, he kind of break himself with the pick, I guess, and I was able to capitalize on this.
Yeah, I mean, we were very fortunate watching the stream and the cast as well. He actually prized 2 VMAXs as well, which really hurt him. But at the same time, you did what you had to do. Gudra did its thing, you know, rolling iron just all the way through, and he just wasn't able to string attacks. So then game 3, of course, just talk us through. I mean, now that you're back to 1-1, he's then going first into game 3. Your thoughts into that?
Yeah, well, first of all, the matchup is much harder if you go second, and then starting Drapion is obviously very bad, because obviously Drapion is very good in the matchup, but the issue is that he plays Lost City, so if I start Drapion, he can knock it out on turn 2 before I can use it. I mean, I could still have taken 2 prizes if he starts normally, because I can just attack, but it's going to be an issue. Fortunately, he had a very slow start, very bad start, and I was able to draw, well, like when I saw the boss orders of the Pokékey, I was like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, you take those moments, right?
Yeah,
you take every little bit of luck, every bit of variance.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to, right?
Yes. But yeah, it's amazing to see, of course, you piloting the deck to as well as you can, of course, because you know, you've been as consistent throughout all the tournaments we get the chance to see you. Have you had the chance to see the other top 8 decks? And well, you might know who you're facing.
What is around. I think I'm facing Vinny in top 4, right?
You
mirror
are.
match.
It will be a mirror match. Gudra really showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he made top 8 in Liverpool as well. Now we're fighting each other. We faced each other today already. I was able to win then, but like it's it's really 50-50. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, lots to look forward to, and it's like, again, fantastic to have you here in the top 8. You do, at the very least, have made it into the semi-finals medal, hoping to try and take down one of the finalists of the Champions medal as well. So hopefully, good luck in the top 4. Pleasure having you as always, Stefan.
Thank you as well.
Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. We'll be back shortly with our top 4, and then very soon with our final match as well. Thank you for tuning in. See you shortly.